Thank you everyone for coming. Really can wing this, so won't be as good as Joy's, but let's go ahead and get started. So what I did this summer was creating cybersecurity awareness modules for really anyone here at ACEP, yourself in your personal life, energy utilities. It's really applicable to everybody. Here's an overview of what we're covering. For the next few days, you're going to see that a lot, so it'll get boring fast, but let's see. Can I move this over? Yes. Okay, so what I did was developing cybersecurity trainings that equips people with the resources and tools to protect against cyber threats. And to break that up a little bit more, just what I had to do was create and organize digestible training modules for people to go through, and just making these available for them to, whether it's in person, asynchronous, just making it really seamless for them to do. And the bigger picture, like why we're doing this, is just to give Alaskans more security for themselves. And it was just an exploration of curriculum development. Like I did all of my stuff on like the Google Drive. Now John is exploring through Canvas and making modules through there. So just trying to find the best place to do all of this. And my research methods were Googling, but as I found out, Google was not the best thing to go do, so I very quickly switched from Googling to DuckDuckGoing, which is a search engine just like Google, but it doesn't track all your information. And just finding reliable, trustworthy sources, whether it was tech companies, they have blogs, educational resources, or just doing, finding other organizations that are doing the same thing as us, what we're trying to accomplish. And those were really helpful, where I got a lot of my information from. NCA, National Cybersecurity Allegiance, and then CISA, part of the government, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Those were really helpful resources that I would go to a lot to help develop some of the modules that I made. And some of my lessons learned, the key challenges was becoming a subject matter expert. I'm spending a lot of time researching, finding information, and then being able to give all this information to people in a quick turnaround. So that was really difficult, something to do that I had challenged with at first, but I quickly became accustomed to it. And there's so much stuff to cover about cybersecurity. I'll talk about it later, but there's just so much to do, and I want to do so much more, but we only have 10 weeks, and that's just unfortunate. But what I would do differently, every source doesn't have to be perfect. Like I mentioned, I said something about reliable sources, but you see blogs on here that might not seem very reliable. Like it's not really good practice when you're researching, but what I found was a lot of companies, like big tech companies, we use them every single day. Like they're pretty reliable information. They've been working with this stuff for a while. So I wish that I didn't be so critical about where the information had to come through, because a lot of this information is important, and they're really good at providing that information. Advice that I would give whenever you're creating these lessons, just imagine yourself as a student, think about what helps you whenever you're learning, whether it's examples, whether it's pictures, a really long, boring documentation, like whatever you think is going to be the most helpful for people, just try to take that perspective. More visuals, there's never enough visuals. As you can tell, this slide has none. I thought I had visuals on this one, but I guess not. Oh, yeah. Yes, here's another visual. Perfect. So this is me presenting at KAA doing my cybersecurity awareness training. I finished this presentation earlier this week. If I were to present it again, it would probably take about an hour and a half. However, we were only given 30 minutes, and we ended up going 40 minutes. So it's really hard to get through all of this information. John had talked to me about it before, just saying that there's always more stuff we could cover, talking about his own experiences too. And I thought I was going to be able to get through this whole presentation, and that did not come anywhere close, but it was super good and a super fun experience over at Kotzebue. And tying back to that Kotzebue trip, a really good experience we had. One of the successes is someone was able to find a spear phishing attempt, and that's something that I educated them on. So it was really awesome just to get that success like soon after I presented, and someone was able to identify that. One of the other things that was successful was learning a lot. Like I mentioned before, I was Googling, and now I'm using DuckDuckGo. I'm a strong advocate for Brave browser. As the interns know, I think I'm like a sponsor for them, but it's so great. And if you didn't know, one of my top 5 traits was a learner, so perfect fit right there. Final thoughts regarding my research. There's just so much more to do and learn. I could do this stuff forever, but there's only so much time. What I would say I enjoyed the least was not because I hated it, but just because it was so hard, is making presentations and stuff engaging for people. Because a lot of times it's really hard. It's really easy to just talk to people for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever. But making them feel engaged is really difficult. And just trying to find creative ways to do that was challenging for me. What did I enjoy most about research? Learning, of course, top 5 traits. So with that, that's my presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Question in the back.
So for those of us that don't understand, why did you not continue using Google as your search engine? What is bad about Google for the things that you were trying to do?
So you might have heard about it before, maybe not, but Google tracks a lot of what you do, whether it's links you click on, many more other things that they do. It's not really a security thing, but more of a privacy thing. So, they could suggest you things. They could give you ads, what Brave does, or Brave uses DuckDuckGo, which is just like Google. Maybe doesn't have as much resources as Google, just because Google's so popular. Everyone uses Google. They're open source, and they don't track your information, so you don't have someone keeping an eye on what you're doing at all times whenever you're doing that kind of stuff. So that's just why I converted over.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a phishing attempt and spear phishing?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. So phishing, I'm sure it's a term everyone's pretty familiar with. Phishing is just someone sending an email to you, and it's pretty broad, it's pretty generic, but they're just trying to collect information, financial gain, trick you into thinking that they're like a big company. Spear phishing, what that is, it's more specific. It's phishing, but what they're doing is targeting a specific group. So like whether it could be like an ACEP group, maybe they have information about ACEP, and they could change their prompts and their questions and make it more specific, targeting that person. Maybe it's an individual, a group of people, the university, a big company. That's the difference.
We have a question online from Annalise.
Hi, RJ. Really nice presentation, and that was really exciting to hear that you had immediate success with the information that you were giving. So I'm curious, you talked about these resources being available for people at ACEP. You presented a rural utility, and then I know you also were interested in high school level engagement with students in computer science. So do you feel, two questions, do you feel like the presentations that you made, do you prioritize certain information for those different audiences, or is it pretty general across the board? And second, is there an audience that you're particularly interested in continuing to help educate?
I would say for the presentations, they're honestly for anyone. Some topics may be more specific, like the first presentation I gave was IT versus OT, information technology versus operational technology. And just talking about the differences there, someone like in high school may not really want to delve into that just because they don't really deal with that kind of stuff so early on. But like, for a utility company, like that's really helpful information for them. But I would say that most of the time my presentations are geared just for anyone. And I do have interest in teaching. I'm a tutor and a TA at UAA. So it's something I enjoy a lot and something I want to do in the future. So I guess my target audience would be high school or middle school even. So yeah. Thank you.